Joined the Sumter Police Department in 1978, and I was assigned to the downtown area, which was the Opera House and various businesses in the downtown area. And sometime later, I started elevating into my career with the Sumter Police Department in 1983 when I was promoted to the rank of corporal. And in 1985, I was promoted to the rank of detective in Criminal Investigations Division. And during which time I had various duties. As a detective, I was assigned to major crime, violent crimes unit. And then later on, started taking various classes at the Criminal Justice Academy in the field of forensics, and I found that's a very interesting field to get into, and I got several certifications in various areas of the field of forensics, and mostly in latent print identification and comparison, and I was sent to Atlanta, Georgia for a week in 1987, where I was trained by the FBI for that week-long training class on blood splatter investigations, and it was proven very effective here in Sumter shortly after that class was completed in a major homicide that we had in Sumter. And of course, advanced further on into my career and photography, several levels of photography and auto theft, and 14 years in criminal investigations and major call-outs and this kind of thing. It was taxing on the family. So I made a request to come out of investigation, and the chief realized that I've been in investigations for some time and needed a little break. I took over the duty as a training coordinator for the Sumter Police Department, and sometime later made a request to the chief's office to end my career. In the last 2 years I spent in the Sumter Police Department as the supervisor in shift work, and they thought it was a strange request at the time, but I really wanted to end my career the way I started, which was in uniform, and I wear this uniform every day with pride, and I believe in what we do, and did it to the best of my ability. Did 27 years that I gave to the citizens of Sumter, and very, very shortly after I retired from the Sumter Police Department, which was a total of 27 and a half years, the sheriff, Anthony Dennis, had just taken office and pulled me into his department and to take over the Sex Offender Registry and Enforcement Unit, which I got in and took over the office and turned things around, and the FBI and state law enforcement was pleased with my work for those 9 years, and I felt the need to retire from the sheriff's office. And shortly after my retirement, I had some conversations with the current chief, Chief Rourke, with the Sumter Police Department, and I always wanted to entertain maybe coming back to work with the Sumter Police Department, because I was on the outside looking in, and I loved the work that Chief Rourke and the agents assigned to his office was doing, and I just wanted to be a part of that again, and make a difference in the community.
Tell me a little bit about how you got interested in law enforcement in the first place.
Yes, my parents always spoke of how, growing up in New York City, how I was born in Sumter, South Carolina, and in the 1950s we was relocated to New York, and my father was in pursuit of a better career, job-wise, and we was raised in New York City, and I used to always watch. I was always amazed by the officers walking the beat in New York, swinging the hickory sticks, we call it, and I always had an interest in law enforcement from a very young age, and I was blessed enough to enter into the United States Marine Corps, and all the testing that I received in the Marine Corps took me in the area of law enforcement. So I was blessed enough to become a military police, and I thought that was the best job on the face of the earth. And after injury overseas, I was medevac back to the United States in 1973, and sometime shortly after that, we got into the church, and my wife and I decided we was going to leave New York and move south. So always wanted to come back to Sumter, my birthplace. Of course, she was born in Jamaica, and it was a little too far for us to travel. So we go there on vacations, but we made Sumter our home, and our children went to all the public schools in Sumter, and of course they did pretty well. And it was struggles over the years, but I can look back on all of it and say it was worth it. It was worth us moving to South Carolina, into Sumter. We watched Sumter, and as well as helped Sumter to grow to be the fantastic city it is today, and it's still building. So I was just thrilled to be a part of it.
Now tell me how law enforcement has changed over the years since you started. You were on the front lines of forensics.
Yes.
And there's been a lot of technological and other changes since then, so.
Yes. In fact, when I took over forensics, there was just one forensics tech, and I even changed the role. It was they at one time they called it an ID man, and I wanted to change that to a more professional position, and it was forensics, and I was certified. Well, I was by a circuit court judge declared expert in certain fields in the field of forensics. I ended up, during the time I was in forensics, I ended up assisting in autopsies of homicides, suicides, and accidental deaths, mostly in the Sumter County, which was at Toomey Hospital, and then, of course, then later on it was in Newberry. I actually helped and assisted in the autopsies, and it was very interesting to me. So that was that was my love at the time, and it was taxing because I was the only forensic technician in Sumter at the time. And when I used to go fishing in my boat, I'd be at the lake, and and we didn't have these fancy cell phones that we have today. We had beepers, and when the beeper went off, and I saw the chief's phone number in it, I knew it was time to come back to the landing and make that phone call. So we raced back to Sumter, and I knew it was a crime scene. It was pretty serious. Right. And as we advanced on, I look at the way it is now opposed to the way it was when I was in forensics, where they had more than one technician trained in various areas, and I'm pleased. I'm thrilled with the way it is now, because the way it used to be was very tactical. Through years of hard work and staying focused on our mission, I was very thrilled when I was named, and I was the first African American officer in Sumter County, named the Police Officer of the Year in 1993, and people talked about it for a good while. And my being the first, of course, I'm a very humble individual. Also, I look at the officers that came before me and paved the way. In fact, I was lucky enough to replace one of the first black police officers, Colin Gilliard. I replaced his position, and I was also tasked with the chore of taking Norman China, who was also one of the first. I had to pick him up from his house in the mornings and ride him around various areas of the city, but he wanted to mostly stay on the south side because that was the areas that to say a few kind words. She'll remember that. She'll remember that. And we can't patrol the bad areas at 35 to 40 miles an hour. slow down and cruise through the neighborhood. And I don't believe in giving them that frown on my face. All right, the big bad police is here. Let them see that. Look, hey man, how you doing? Speak to them. You know what they're doing. You know what they're doing. They know you know what they're doing. But slow down. Even pull up and stop. Speak to. Hey man, how you doing? Okay, y'all know you're not supposed to be in the middle of the street. Just yeah, I know, my bad. And then you see what I even mentioned it to, they pull their pants up. So see our image, just our presence a lot of time corrects things. So it thrills me to see that that, and just to be able to spend my last few years in law enforcement right back where I started, right here on the streets. In 1978 I was on these streets, and here in 2016 I'm on these streets. That's where the people see you. They see the police car going by, but it's nothing like passing by an officer on the street and speaking to him, and he speaks back and embraces them and speak to him a little bit, and they remember that. And the next time they come by and see him, hey officer, or the little children that passes by, they're gonna speak loud enough to make sure that you hear them. So that motivates us to be even better.
Great.
And that's what it's all about.